As you'll know from your training and from experience, effective gangway security is crucial. This program is designed not as comprehensive training, but as a reminder of the basics involved in controlling access to vessels from the quayside. Vessels vary, so as well as the training you should have already had in the ISPS code, you'll be briefed by the Ship Security Officer, the SSO, on the specific requirements of his vessel. In overall terms, your responsibilities are to control the movement of people, equipment and stores on and off the vessel, search personnel and/or baggage where necessary, report security incidents or breaches in the first case to the Officer of the Watch, OOW, or if not available, the SSO or the Master, and help to control emergency situations. You'll be briefed and given the equipment you need, such as radios, visitor passes, a list of expected visitors, a logbook to record them, and a list for lost ID cards. You might also have other optional items of checking equipment such as a metal detector or UV light. And you should stay in constant radio contact with the Officer of the Watch. Observation of the quayside near the gangway is also part of your responsibility. However, you should not move away from the gangway unless it is left supervised or if you can lock down the gangway. There are 3 security levels: Level 1, Level 2 and Level 3. Level 1 calls for appropriate protective security measures at all times. To ensure this, you may search baggage and people if necessary. At Level 2, some additional protective measures are put in place for a period of time because there's a higher risk of a security incident. This means you must search at least 20% of baggage and personnel. At Level 3, more specific protective measures will be added, as this means that a security incident is probable or imminent. In this case, you must search all baggage and personnel. These are only guidelines, and in all cases, the Ship Security Officer will work with you to decide when and what level of searches should be carried out, depending what security level the ship is set at. By the way, no vessel can be on a lower security level than the port it's visiting. However, sometimes a vessel can operate at a higher security level than the port it is visiting. The port and the ship would need to agree appropriate security measures. The ship's SSO will advise you of the requirements. When the level's high, visitors and contractors must be approved by the Officer of the Watch before they can board. Any who aren't allowed to stay must be escorted from the gangway by their hosts. All unaccompanied baggage must be searched before being allowed on board, whatever the security level. As in all activities, good communications are crucial, so you'll be told who you must report incidents to. It could be the SSO, the master of the vessel, or the Officer of the Watch. When someone arrives, they must tell you their name and why they're there. Before you can issue them with a pass, you need to check their ID on an official document carrying their photograph. Anyone on board who's expecting a visitor should obtain a clearance form from the SSO, who should put the visitor's name in an official book at the gangway, such as a visitor contractor expected list. People who aren't expected must stay in the security cabin until the Officer of the Watch, the SSO, or the Master has contacted the individual they want to see and decided if it's okay to issue a pass. You can check whether a passport's valid by using an ultraviolet or UV light. If this is thought to be necessary, training and equipment will be provided. When you're satisfied that the visitor is legitimate, issue a pass and tell the Officer of the Watch they're coming aboard. Tell the visitor to wear his pass all the time he's on board and hand it back when he leaves. If any crew member or visitor is carrying drugs or alcohol or seems to be under the influence of them, they must wait at the gangway security cabin and the officer of the watch contacted, who will advise on the action required by company procedures. If they refuse to wait, don't try to restrain them in any way. Radio the vessel's bridge or officer of the watch right away. All these incidents must be reported in the gangway log. When you have to search someone, remember these should be carried out by a person of the same gender as the people being searched. First, tell the person you're going to search them and ask if they've got any objections. If people refuse, you can legitimately prevent them from going on board. If you have one, use a metal detector to search people and baggage. There'll be procedures to follow which are specific to the vessel. They'll usually involve contacting the officer of the watch, the SSO, or the master. If you're unsure about any aspect of carrying out searches, then training can be provided. No unauthorized packages should be allowed on board at any security level. If you do come across a suspicious package, tell the bridge or the officer of the watch about it. If you find items which aren't suitable to be taken aboard, tell the SSO or officer of the watch. They may be needed for the task the visitor's there to do, but if they're not, they'll have to be left on shore. The visitor must arrange this. It's not a good idea to take responsibility for keeping the items, but if it's unavoidable, make sure the necessary procedures are clear. Put the items in a secure, lockable box and make a careful note of them. If you're in any doubt about whether a package is safe or not, then follow the procedures that the SSO has provided you with. Make sure that you read and understand them, and if you have any questions, ask. Each vessel will have its own emergency plans, and you should be fully briefed on them and have a copy of the relevant procedures at the gangway security point. If the alarm is sounded, all non-essential personnel will come ashore and muster opposite the vessel. Make sure that they're not blocking access for the onshore emergency services. When the situation's under control again and the vessel's been made safe, you can let them back on board. It's a big responsibility, and among other things, it calls for vigilance, judgment, and communication skills. The procedures and regulations are there, but to be effective, they need to be applied properly and consistently. Your role in that process is crucial. Thanks for your attention.